Welcome back. You know, Gloria has officially been sworn in as Assembly member for the 78th District for the state of California. And very fancy Todd is here now.
Yeah.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Assembly member Gloria.
Yes. I got my fancy new pin. You might see it's gotten bigger at the state level.
I was going to say, is that what happens when you get to the state? The pin gets bigger?
It gets a little bigger. We'll see what the future holds.
All right. So, look, before we get to the state stuff, because we are going to talk about that. Oh, look, they're taking a nice, good type shot of your pen. Before we talk about the state stuff, I want to talk about what happened yesterday, because you were at the new swearing-in ceremony as you were being kind of shown the door in a nice, lovely way, right?
You know what? Time's up, right?
Yeah.
And that's the tough part of these jobs. You know, even if you're doing a good job, you only get to serve so long. And so I had 8 great years, better than I ever thought they would be, and turned over the reins to, I think, a very capable new council member, Chris Ward. All
right, we're going to talk about Chris Ward in District 3 in a second, but I also want to start with the election, the selection, rather, of Myrtle Cole as the president of the council. What do you, I mean, you were president of the council.
I was.
So what do you see for her in that role?
Well, you know, Myrtle was my seatmate for the last, 4 years or so. I know her quite well. We knew each other long before either of us were elected, and I like Myrtle a great deal. My hope is that she will guide the council to actually get things done. You know, the role of council president, I think a lot of your viewers are like, what does that matter, right? But it's a pretty powerful position. And from that perch, she can work closely with the mayor and the other council members to get a lot of stuff done. But she can also make sure that the council does its role of oversight, which is pushing back when things aren't going well. I think KUSI has covered some of the police dispatching issues or police officer retention issues, things that we aren't doing so great at the city that we could do better on. The council, if it provides its oversight correctly, that means that's good for taxpayers, so I hope she'll do that.
You know, you were at the helm when there was a lot of turmoil in the city, and you were really one of those forces that helped steady the ship and started this kind of relationship with the mayor again and trying to work together as a collaborative unit. Do you see that continuing with Myrtle Cole in that seat?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the distinguishing characteristics that some people saw. You know, you had 2 Democrats vying for the position.
Sure.
Myrtle was perceived to be the one that would work more closely with the mayor. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but that was the perception. But again, I think that that's important most of the time, but no one's infallible, right?
Sure,
and so when the mayor's wrong, it's the council's responsibility to call that out and correct it. And, you know, Myrtle's first comments were along those lines. I think that's a good sign.
Okay. Let's talk really quick about District 3. Now you're leaving District 3 to Chris Ward. He's talked about the need, and really not just the need, but the responsibility of the council to get affordable housing taken care of. Is that realistic? I mean, is that going to really happen?
Well, it doesn't. The city alone can't solve the problem. And certainly what I'm learning as a state legislator is that this is a statewide concern and really a national concern in some ways. What I thought was great about Councilmember Ward's comments was that as the District 3 representative, we kind of had the hot spot of homelessness. Obviously, it's in every corner of the county, but there's a lot in downtown San Diego. But he made the right observation, which is that this is not just about housing and security for the homeless, but it's really for working families in the middle class. You know, people who have pretty decent jobs are finding it really hard to make ends meet here. And he made the statement that I think is on point, which is that we can't be a great city if on. I hope that the city council will take decisive action, some aggressive action to deal with housing affordability at all levels, and I certainly will be doing that at the state level. I feel as though the state has really stepped back from that role in recent years, and because this is a statewide concern, because this is a problem in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, in the Central Valley even, my colleagues who represent places like Stockton and Modesto are saying this is hurting our constituents. That seems to me that we can do something on a statewide level that will complement what can be done here at the city level.
Let's talk about the statewide level. Let's put up the picture of your swearing in. This happened, what, Monday? No, last week.
Last week, a week ago Monday. I'm there. What you may not know is she's just cut out of the pictures. My mom was the one who was sitting with me on the floor, family Bible in hand, and she had a great time. But a week ago, and so we are currently in recess until the new year. But right now is the time where we're cooking up ideas for legislation that we can introduce next year. And I'd ask your viewers, the folks who live in the 78th District, contact my office and let us know what you think needs done. I'm not going up there to hang out. I'm going out there to solve problems, real problems for real people. And I think it starts with housing affordability. It also involves housing transportation issues. There are a lot of problems in this state that we can fix, and I want their good ideas to do that.
Roads, all of that, all the infrastructure stuff that you are so well aware of, being here in San Diego. Okay, I want to talk about something that's very controversial that the state legislature did on Monday. What was why this resolution to vehemently kind of oppose the Trump administration? And I understand kind of why politics-wise, why, but in terms of negotiating and trying to have a good relationship to just kind of start off the bat, why start combative instead of start with a negotiation? Yeah,
and I, it was unusual for a first day of the legislature to take up a resolution, a symbolic resolution along those lines. But I think it is important, and what the Speaker and the Senate Pro Tem both laid out was that these are unprecedented times, and the things that are being by the new administration are pretty concerning, particularly for California's values. I mean, when you look at what we have done as a state, they're antithetical to what this new administration is suggesting. And in some places, it seems as though they're going to ask us to be complicit in doing some of these things that we may not agree with, particularly dividing families, rounding up people, that kind of stuff. And so we laid a marker on the table saying we won't do that. And we said also we'll cooperate where we can, and we want to help you, improve upon some of these things. But if you expect, the state government to supply names or lists or things of that nature, we're not going to do that.
But that hasn't happened yet, right? So this was all kind of preemptive.
It's absolutely preemptive, yeah. Okay. And yesterday I signed on to a letter around the LGBT community. President-elect Trump has actually made some overtures to the LGBT community, but his suggestions or his appointments of nominees have been 100% anti-gay, lesbian community, and that's concerning. And so we want to point that out and ask him to say, when you're making these considerations, please, stand up for marriage equality. You've indicated that you sort of support that, but that's not being shown in your actions. I think what we're trying to do is set up some expectations so that if we do have to get more combative in the future, it won't be because we weren't clear in our expectations.
Do you think that we should at least give him until January 20th to make some actions happen?
Yeah, well,
don't you think he can't do anything just yet?
You've never heard it from me. He's not my president, right? I think, I have a great deal of respect for our current president, and I thought he's done a great job. The last 8 years, he wasn't given that courtesy. I'm extending that same courtesy to this president. He's the president for all of us, but that does include immigrants, LGBT Americans, women, and others for whom there are some pretty concerning things that have been either said by the president-elect or by some of his spokespeople. And again, that's why I think the Assembly resolution was coming from, is to say, these are concerning to us, and we will not help if this is what you choose to do.
All right, Gloria. It's always great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you for coming back. So you're going to be going to Sacramento back when?
January 4th.
4th.
Yeah.
That's when it all starts.
That's when
hit the ground running.
The show gets going, and I just want to close by saying you complete.
Jerry Maguire. You had me at hello. Yes. Thank you, Todd. Good to see you. All right.